Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. My name is Louisa and I help high achievers, entrepreneurs and coaches lift the lid on life and business so that they can live at their highest value. Each episode we will bring you our favourite founders, CEOs and guest experts to share with you their insights and strategies to expand your wealth consciousness, your spiritual leadership and aligned business strategies. We know that living in alignment with your soul's mission is what fulfills you, and we are here to show you how to achieve this in an energetically aligned way. If you haven't already, be sure to claim your free abundance activation in the Akashic Records. Go to louisahavers.com/gift to unlock your abundance activation today. And if you'd like my support in having aligned success in life and business, then contact me at www.louisahavers.com and let's explore together if it's an aligned match. Get ready to live at your highest value and to expand into your next level of money as you elevate and receive more. You create more for others. Righty ho, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to this week's episode. I'm so excited to be joined by the phenomenal Krys Pappius today. Welcome, Krys.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
I'm so excited to hear more about all the things, and I'm going to share your bio because this is going to really pique everybody's interest. You've had such a journey. From in 2003, you had a near-death experience which woke you up to the fact that you were stuck in a life that you didn't like and saw no way out. And it took you several years of searching to discover the secret to creating the life you'd longed for and a few more to create it. Oh, I love it. We've got to dive into all of this. Krys is an empowerment coach, and her mission is to share what she's learned with women, professionals, and entrepreneurs who feel stuck and who are motivated to do whatever it takes to create the life that they dream of and deserve. Oh, this is just music to my ears. Welcome, Krys.
Thank you again. Thank you.
So let's kind of go back a bit to why you do what you do, to really take us on the journey. We'd love to hear all the things that led you to what you're doing now.
Okay, so you've alluded to 2003, and I will put that in context. I had I call it a midlife crisis, and I decided that I really wanted to be a police officer, and there was a lot of reasons why I did that. And back in the day, it took 5 years of jumping hoops to get hired. Now, that's no longer the case, but back there it was 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
So I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into getting this job. And when I finally got hired with the agency I was working at, there were 1,000 applicants for 10 spots. And I got one of the spots. And I'm sharing that to tell you how determined I was to get this. This was the job I wanted to do. I wanted to stand up for what was right. It was my line in the sand. You know, I wanted to rein in the bad guys. Fast forward 10 years and realized that this job is not what I thought it was. And at the time, I didn't understand what the problem was. All I knew was that I wasn't happy. And I just kind of went along with it. And then 2003, I was at work. I had a near-death experience. It was a car crash. My car remained in motion for some time. And in that time, I really did see my life for what it was. And I realized that I was bored. I was unfulfilled. I had so many dreams I'd left on a shelf, collecting dust. And I vowed to myself that if I survived this event, that I was going to make changes, that I was going to live a life that I loved. Clearly, I survived. My injuries were fairly significant. It was 15 months of healing mentally, physically, before I was considered fit for duty, which means you're good enough. You're good enough. I remember the day I walked back into the office. I went into a locker room. I got all dressed up, my uniform, my gear and all that. And I looked in the mirror and it was this pit in my stomach. Because the person looking back at me was the person who had been in that car and that nothing had changed. So I recommitted. Yes. And the first thing I was going to do, I was start having fun, and I was going to start taking those dreams off the shelf.
Yes.
And I had pretty wild dreams. I dreamed of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, of trekking across the Himalayas, going to Rwanda and seeing the gorillas. I was drawn to Mongolia. I went to all these places. I did all these things. And I am privileged to have done so. And I enjoyed those adventures. And what I noticed was that every time I came home, it was this sinking feeling again. I was coming back to the life I didn't like, that getting all these dreams and having these adventures was not changing my day-to-day reality.
Mm,
So my commitment was to figure out how to get that enthusiasm about life and that engagement. How can I feel that in my everyday life? And that was the journey that really started. And I read the books, I took the workshops, I took the courses, I did all that. And I got a golden nugget here and there.
mm,
But it became clear to me that the reason why certain authors can get away with writing 26 books is they let you dream. They give you permission to dream. They tell you to dream, but they never tell you how to put it in practice, how to bring that dream into your reality. So I stood back and I looked at all these little golden nuggets I had got, and I realized that they could actually fit together. They weren't so random, that I
mm.
could fit them together in a process that made sense to me. And when I started following that process, that's when my life started changing. And that's where how I ended up in a life that I really love, where I love where live. I love the work that I do. I'm empowering people, which, by the way, is why being a police officer was not fulfilling. You don't empower people in law enforcement. It is a job. I've lived through a police strike in a past life. I value law enforcement. I understand that. It is not my gift,
Mm,
that job. My gift is to empower people. I'm healthy, I love nature. I really do enjoy my life, which is so different to what it was. And what I discovered was that the process is not that complicated. It's not easy,
mm.
but it's not complicated. And so that's what I share with the women that I work with now. Women who've put blood, sweat, and tears into creating a career where they're actually successful, but it's not bringing them happiness. It's two
It's
different things.
There's so many people out there that I think are hiding. I call it the busy mask of success because we can keep ourselves really busy so that we don't realize we're unhappy, if
Yeah.
that makes sense,
Oh, it totally does make sense.
until we
And one of
burn
the
out.
reasons one I think one of the reasons why people like my clients, remain stuck is because when the world looks at you and and see that you have all the trappings of success, to say, "I'm not happy," doesn't really generate much sympathy. How
Yeah.
can you be unhappy when you've got so much?
Mm.
Because it's so much of stuff that really isn't that important at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's not until we start unraveling it all that we can kind of go, actually, what is it that makes me happy? We're moving house at the moment, and it's amazing how you suddenly realize there's so much around you that you don't need for that internal happiness and that fulfillment that ultimately everybody is seeking and wanting to create in this life and their reality. Wow, what a transformation to have experienced, to go from, law enforcement to being able to empower people. As you say, it's like two different worlds,
It is,
really. And of
it
course,
is.
we value our police officers. As my background is in social services, so I value the police highly, and
Yes.
all the people that are working in those roles. Very, very tough role to be fulfilling. So now you're in this, you've reinvented yourself. You're actually living who you truly are from what you've said. What would you say is your purpose? Your mission in this life now.
My purpose is to make people feel seen, heard, and valued, that
Mm,
they matter and that their life matters. I believe that when you feel that way, that you matter and that's fulfillment.
you
That
matter.
is fulfillment. And it's not the big things that matter. It- Let me rephrase that.
Mm,
Do I believe, would I love to be able to solve famine in Africa? Yes, I would.
mm.
I get it. That's not my jam. That's not my gift. And one person alone cannot fix such a huge problem. Our gift is in everyday life because we're all in this together. And every time somebody connects with their purpose and starts living it, I believe the world as a whole, one, moves a step closer to world peace, because you can't live a fulfilling life and feel hatred and anger and greed, which is what motivates so much of the strife in our world today. It's incompatible.
Mm.
So to me, that's how I contribute to the wellness of the world, one client at a time. I never know what that client will go on and do. I never know who that client will go and impact. But if I have helped one person help themselves, then I've done my job.
That is, it's the ripple effect, isn't it, of what we get to do as coaches, mentors, and advisors. It's a real privilege, I think, to be able to contribute to people in our each of our own unique way. I love what you're saying there, and I agree. I believe that we've each got a part to play, and I always say with those difficult world agendas and narratives that we all get to kind of witness, is thinking, well, what's my part to play? What's my bit to do? Because it might not be contributing to solving famine in whichever part of the
Yeah.
world, or war, etc. But there's somebody out there who's that is their role to be able to do that, and we can contribute in business in so many different ways that is ours to do.
Mhm.
You've touched on so many things, and one of the things, just to before we dive into that piece that you're saying about you matter, because I really think that that is something that so many people don't really believe, that they matter at their core from their experiences in life. Somewhere the subconscious has picked up these kind of illusions along the way that someone has told you that you don't matter. So I love that that is such a core essence of helping people to really start to have that joy and fulfillment. And I would love to hear, because I think this really leads into being able to have joy and fulfillment is around prosperity. We're talking on the Infinite Prosperity podcast. So what does prosperity mean to you?
To me, it means thriving in all areas of life. Now, thriving does not mean perfection.
Mm,
It means that every day you engage in life, you learn about yourself. It means being healthy. It means being active. It means having relationships that are nurturing. Um, it means having career fulfillment. It doesn't necessarily, I don't think it means financial prosperity. When we talk about prosperity in general, we often talk about the material wealth.
mm,
I think infinite prosperity is prosperity in many areas of your life. And the truth, I recently had an experience that made me realize that often we don't even realize how prosperous we really are. So I'm going to take a minute to tell you this story because it struck me and I laugh in a way. I hate doing housework. I really, really hate housework. And somehow my kitchen is always a mess. And every morning, I clean it up and, it gets messy again. And I walked in a couple of days ago. Oh, it was such a mess again. And I was starting to get really frustrated. Like, what can I do to stop this? And then I changed my mind. I sort of took a different tact. And I thought, I have a warm house.
mm,
I have a functional kitchen. My kitchen is well equipped and I love cooking. And I love healthy eating, which means that I cook everything from scratch every meal. I don't buy anything processed at all. And that mess that has been aggravating me for so long, I suddenly realized is in fact a reminder how wealthy I am and how prosperous
mm.
I am. It's not something to be irritated about. It's something to rejoice about. I've just prepared another meal. And yes, my dishwasher may run. Oh, and I am blessed to have a dishwasher to do the dirty work.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's all how we see things.
Mm,
We can focus on the negative, or we can go, wow, what does this actually really mean? And my messy kitchen now to me makes me smile because it means, yes, I've got some really cool food in the fridge again.
I love that. Sounds like you're a really good chef.
I enjoy cooking. Yes, I have my staples that I play with, and I take the time. I invest in myself because I'm worth it, because I matter, and I know that
Mm.
now. I do matter. My health matters, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's a message that I think everyone can take away is thinking around what is our perception of how much we matter, and then how is that showing up in our lives? And I think perception is absolutely key. It's such a subtle shift that you were talking about there, but makes such a big difference to your enjoyment of, like, the meal in itself, as well as dealing with the tidying up piece. And I think this is, it's true for us in all aspects of life work. And like in business, we can see some people can get really taken out of the challenges, of course, that they're being faced with. Whereas actually, if you change your consciousness and change your perception shift, you open up possibilities that you might not have seen before. I always think that obstacles get us to an invitation to be more creative.
Yep. I totally agree with you because it requires you to problem solve.
Mm,
And one of the big step in my process is self-mastery. You need to understand yourself, to know yourself, to understand your thought, be aware of your thoughts and your emotions. They are so much more in control than we are so much more in control of our thoughts and our emotions than we could possibly imagine.
mm,
And once we embrace that, then we can learn tools. And this is all what I teach is tools on how to diffuse your emotion so that you can then become a problem solver. And when you diffuse your emotions and you take on that problem solver mode, that's when the creativity comes out. And that's when what used to be an obstacle, yes, it's an obstacle. And yes, it would be so much easier if there were no obstacles, but that's not life. That's not reality.
yeah.
And it's important to remember how many obstacles we've already overcome, especially if you're a professional or an entrepreneur. Especially entrepreneurs, like this is not an easy choice.
No,
You know,
it's not.
and
Mm,
unfortunately, there's so many messages out there that, buy my stuff and you'll be an instant millionaire. It's not true. Overnight successes, their night was probably 10 or 15 years.
yeah, we don't see it,
That's
do we? Yeah. And also, I see in terms of where people are, feeling like those business plateaus, is often I've seen where people have got stuck on a track and they think, I've got to fix it this way, rather than actually that piece of actually the business plateau is going to melt away if you change your strategy, allow the creativity come through, expand your consciousness so that you can problem solve and move in a different direction, and that creativity is being asked for
yeah.
um,
Yes.
for that next evolution in your business. It's an opportunity,
You
just a
have to
perception
give
shift.
yourself permission,
Mm,
permission to enjoy the process, the permission to look back and see, wow, look how far I've come. My goal may still be a ways away,
mm,
but the truth is, when you reach that goal, because we are seekers of adventure, I think we're hardwired for that. And
mm.
adventure means so many different things. For me, it's climbing a mountain. Somebody else, it could be, learning a new song on the guitar. It doesn't matter. But once you achieve that goal, I think we are hardwired to say, what's next?
Yeah. We need to remember to celebrate what we've achieved. I think that's the thing.
Yes,
You see that as
yes,
well. People forget to
yes,
celebrate. And it's like, no, no, anchor it in.
yes,
Anchor it into your
yes.
consciousness.
Good catch. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Mm. Do you have any practices for celebration to anchor it in?
How do I celebrate? I celebrate by going out in nature and giving myself
Mm,
permission to go and spend, an entire day or what have you. Nature is my happy place, definitely. And sometimes, celebrating just means turning off the computer, going to the television, and putting on a movie.
mm.
BBC has great shows, right? So I
Oh,
can.
it does.
I've got my favorite characters. BBC has great shows, and I can certainly curl up turn on the fire, curl up, and just say, "Hey, relax. It's okay.
Mhm.
You know, you've done X amount of work. Now it's time to just unplug.
Yes.
Cook a
And
great meal."
great, and enjoy tidying up.
That's right.
I love it. It'd be great to get your take on this as we're talking about celebrations and that piece where, you know, let's say we've broken out of the business plateau or the momentum's building and we've got that milestone, we're celebrating and we can, you know, do the simple things, but it's being intentional with those simple things like I'm turning on the TV because I'm just relaxing and I'm celebrating. The energy behind that is so important to be able to kind of our consciousness to hear that. And one of the things that I was talking about over the weekend with a friend who's also an entrepreneur who was reflecting, so it'd be really interesting to hear your take on this as well, was that she'd recognized that she would have her back against the wall, do all the work that she needed to do to get the business moving again. The business would start moving again, and new clients would be coming on, and you know that she'd be really enjoying it again. And she would feel herself start to relax, and she'd feel herself take the foot off the pedal, and then she'd see the impact of suddenly clients withdrawing, you know, something would be happening in the business to kind of create this roller coaster effect. And it's something I recognize as well. I think that there's this piece that entrepreneurs can kind of feel like they take their foot off the pedal too soon, and then it creates this roller coaster effect. Have you seen that kind of experience for people where they are just getting to feel like they're experiencing that joy and that fulfillment, and then the roller coaster starts again?
There is a school of thought, and I'm sorry, I cannot cite the author, but there is a school of thought that says that we are hardwired we are hardwired to a limit of our ability to enjoy, to feel joyful.
Mm,
That we will then start sabotaging when we go beyond our level of
mhm,
tolerance. We have a level of tolerance for joy.
mhm.
And that when it becomes too joyful, we retract back into that comfort zone,
Yes.
which I found I'm sorry I can't cite, my source,
Mm,
but it was just a really interesting piece for me to remember that we are hardwired in many ways, and that includes the level of the joy that we are able to tolerate. And I'm wondering when entrepreneurs are on an upswing and they do take off the pedal, is it because out of there's a fear,
mm,
like this joy is not safe for me. And I know there's a lot of psychology in there that I'm talking about, and I'm not a psychologist, but
mm,
through personal experience, I know that when things start going really well for me, the little whispering starts.
mm.
Now, I am in a position where I've been doing this for so long that I hear the whispers and I go, wait a minute.
Yes,
Wait
exactly.
a minute. But I also give myself some grace.
Mm,
I give myself grace in that I understand that I am no different than anybody else. I'm not special. And that I am hardwired the way everybody else is.
mm,
So if my tolerance is here, maybe I just push myself, it's just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. 1% a day over a year is how many percentages? Again, it's another school of thought that just you don't have to do the big thing. You don't
mm,
blow up your life, which is again what a lot of the messaging out there is. Oh, just do it. That's not fair. That's not a fair expectation of yourself. But if you do baby steps, just baby steps. And I think for the entrepreneurs to overcome that deceleration is
mm,
just to set a little bit of time a day. Just commit a little bit of time a day to work on your business. Just a
mm.
little bit. It doesn't have to be 8 hours. When I started this journey, I had to be at my desk for 12 or 13 hours a day. Otherwise, I wasn't doing anything. Nonsense.
That
Nonsense.
perception again, isn't it?
Oh,
Mm,
it was crazy making.
mm,
But now I know, okay, this is what my next step is. And my next step, if I set aside 1 hour a day to work on that and to pick away at it, I will know that at the end of today's hour, either A, I will be in the flow and want to do more, or
mm.
B, I will know that at the end of the day, I'm an hour closer to reaching that goal. Does that make sense?
It does. I love what you're saying there. I talk about it from a place of default set points. We all have these default set points, and I do
Mm,
think that where the money can come in. I help people, expand their prosperity from the wealth aspects as well across all aspects of their life, and then that joy
yeah,
capometer kicks in, and it's like we've just got to kind of go back. So that's why we need to be able to go. Actually, we can have money and joy and fulfillment, and expand our capacity to have it all. So I love what you were saying there around that kind of just moving the needle a little bit each day. So ultimately, you're not kind of creating a massive contraction or a freak out, basically,
exactly.
in your
And when you
subconscious.
if you freak out again, it's give yourself some grace.
Mm,
Okay, this is just, take a breath, just take a breath. What's really going on? What is I have a tool that I use with clients where they very quickly it helps my clients very quickly decide, okay, what's going on right now? What's going on? What's going on? And is this true? Is this because when you freak out, it's a belief. It is a belief
yes.
that's coming, full speed ahead. And when you can identify the belief, that's when you can challenge it. And when
Mm,
you do this several times and you see it's the same issue over and over again, then you know that you're hardwired in a way that can be changed. You know, the word du jour is neuroplasticity, but it's
mm,
true.
mm,
You can rewire your brain and it takes time. It takes time and give yourself a break because look at yourself today and look how far you've come. Look how far you've come. And yes, the goalpost is in front of you, but you're so much closer today than you were if you just do a little tiny bit a day so
mm,
that you don't go beyond your ability to cope, your set point.
mm,
Or
mm,
if you go past your set point, it's just a little bit and you'll get used to it.
mm. Step by step.
And there's proof to that. Marketers know about set points. They
Mm.
know it, which is why cars come out with new models every year. It's true.
Yeah.
Look at a great new model, and you're sitting there with your 2023 model, and you see all the bling on the 2024. I want that, I want that, I want that, and you go in and buy it. Well,
Mm,
in 2020, that now becomes your normal.
mm.
So that 2025 comes along and there's extra bling.
Yeah.
Always upping the marketers know that
Mm,
because you treat yourself to something new that excites you, but you're going to become that's going to become your norm. And if you treat your ability to enjoy to experience joy in the same way, little steps at a time, it becomes your new norm.
I feel like we've got homework for everybody from that podcast conversation. The mission for everyone, if they choose to accept it, is to go and
Yes.
have more joy today. What
Yes.
what would you say then to help our listeners as they're listening in and into our conversation around this? What are the keys to experiencing joy and fulfillment, from your perspective, with all the things that you've been sharing?
Fulfillment. Okay. I think there's maybe two different questions here. One,
Mm,
although one leads to the other. So fulfillment is the cornerstone of fulfillment is knowing your values and your purpose in life.
mhm,
So, for example, I know my top three values are security, community, and freedom. I know that. And freedom means freedom to think, freedom to act, freedom to do what I want without hurting anybody, obviously, right? But it's freedom to choose. Anything that I do that doesn't honor those three
mm,
is going to cause inner conflict.
mm,
So by if once you go through the process of identifying your values and identifying your purpose, you really do have a compass. And your emotions will tell you when you're straying. And the fascinating thing about all this is when you're clear on your values and your purpose, and you choose to act in accordance with that, even if others don't agree with you or approve, whatever the heck that means, right? You have a solid foundation, and the opinion of others loses its power over you, which is I find very interesting. And when you stick to what you believe in, when you stick to what's important, you then attract others
Mm.
feel the same way. So it impacts your relationships. So I think that when you start living your according to your values and your purpose, you start attracting people, you have better relationships. Fun follows. Joy, not fun, joy follows. I think joy is a state of being.
Mm.
Fun is a situational
Mm.
thing. I think that's a distinction. Joy is a state of being, fun is situational. I believe we need to have fun every day.
Oh, I agree.
Sorry, but I hate to say that to those, perfectionists and, workaholics. You need to have fun every day.
Yeah. I completely agree. Because isn't it, it can be for the recovering workaholics. It's like the last thing on the to-do list, as it were. Or it might be like, I've got to go and do fun. I've got to have some
Yeah,
fun. I've got
yeah.
to build it in because we can just get so sidetracked with the competing demands in life and all the things. I love your reflections here. There's so many writer downers for people. Would you say, like, in terms of if someone's, perhaps wherever they are at in their life journey, and because you had such a huge career change and a massive kind of a wake up call, if you like, from the universe, and we don't really need to wait for that to happen, no, necessarily. We'd hope for people, but and this is something that I have heard people sort of reflect on and question. So I wanted to open up the conversation around this. Is it ever too late for me?
Never, never,
You heard it here.
never. So what would you prefer? Living the rest of your life, however long that may be,
Mm,
in the life you now have, which is not bringing you joy, or if you have 1 minute left in life, knowing that you've made the choice and that you're on a new path.
mm,
For me, choosing a new path, whatever that may be, that's adventure.
mm,
That's excitement, that's curiosity, that's me being in control of my life. And if all I get is 1 minute to experience that, I think that's a for in my world, that's a better way to end my life than getting stuck in more of the same, in mediocrity. It
that's
is
no.
never too late. And I love that you brought up the back against the wall thing. So as a police officer, many times I dealt with people whose lives were turned upside down
Mhm,
in a flash,
mm,
often through no fault of their own.
mm,
And everyone had a choice. I either allow that to define me and I curl up and forget about life, or I rise to the occasion. And so often in our news, I'm sure in your news, you hear the stories of somebody who's gone through incredible trauma
mm,
and who chose to make something good out of it. I believe we all have a depth of strength and wisdom beyond our wildest imagination. And far too many of us wait until our backs are against the wall to dig deep and tap into that and make something different in life or do something different in life. We do not have to wait until our back is against the wall. We do not have to wait until the universe smacks us across the head. And you know what the difference is? When the universe smacks across the head, you're at the bottom of the pit and skylight is way, 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 way at the top.
mm.
You choose to do it on your own, one step at a time, on your own terms. you avoid that pit.
Mm. Oh,
You know, it's pivoting or transitioning in life is not easy.
mm,
You can make the decision in a moment, but the actual journey is not easy, simple though it may be.
mm.
If you choose that journey on your own, then you do it at your own pace. It's like the difference between someone who can't swim and is, thrown off a boat
Mm.
and it's sink or swim, or someone who decides to go to the Red Cross and learn how to swim.
Yeah.
It may take longer to learn how to swim and perfect your strokes, but it's a hell of a lot better way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
Right?
great analogy. A
It's
great analogy.
yeah, we
Yeah.
get to choose, and even if it's 1 minute, isn't that better than 20 years of saying I'm too late?
Oh, I'm too late. And settling. I think that's the thing, isn't it? We settle for our sort of here, this is the cards that we've been dealt, or however somebody might kind of think that this is the way, so this is the way, so I can't change the way. But there's always another level of evolution. And
There is, and I will say that again through my particularly in my career, when I've come across people who've really turned around their life, they've come from really difficult backgrounds and they've
mm,
turned around their life. And I've often asked them, what do you think the difference was? And invariably it's somebody saw something in me.
mm,
You can't see what you don't know. And with a guide, you can tap in to that strength and wisdom that you already have. We each have it.
yeah,
We have it. It's innate in us. Whether we see it or not is determined by how people react to us, reflect us back to us.
yes,
And when one person says, "Hey, wait a minute, I don't accept that.
mm,
I see something else in you," that can make a huge change.
it really
And
does. It's that you matter piece that you were talking about. When someone says that, it's like you matter, you
yep.
matter. Oh, there's so much here. So just to kind of bring it all together, what would you say that what are your 3 tips that you would love entrepreneurs to walk away with, from our conversation today?
Three, two, know your purpose
Mm,
and build a business that honors that. Too many of us, again, look outside of ourselves for what is the best business for me.
mm,
Ask yourself what is important to you, and all those ideas out there, do they reflect that? Can you allow yourself to reflect that in your business? I know that if I had known my purpose and my values 30 years ago or whenever it was that I became a police officer, my career would have been very different. I know that.
yeah.
Okay? So one, know your values and know your purpose. Two, give yourself some grace. There's no such thing as an overnight success. There isn't. And three, remind yourself of how far you've already come.
Mm,
Keep the goal in line, keep the goalpost in mind, but take the time to reflect on how far you've come.
mhm. Beautiful.
I'm going to add a fourth tip.
Okay, I'll let you.
I'm going to add
You can have 4.
create, create the business you want.
Mm,
There are so many messages that say, oh, seven-figure business, multiple six-figure, seven-figure business. The work that is involved to create a seven-figure business is tremendous. You cannot do it on your own. You have to have a team. Create the business you want. If you want to live a quiet life and do good in the world, do not listen to those who say a seven-figure business is the only way to go. It's not true.
mm. It's can be an illusion if you're thinking that that's the only way to make an impact, and you can make an impact. And there's, in many different ways. It may be that you're wanting to bring in a different amount of revenue and have more time with your family, or whatever it
Exactly.
might be.
Exactly.
It really is. I think it's so interesting how you can set off on a path with one business model and then realize that you've actually created a business that you don't like, or you've recreated your job. And so the business
Yeah.
model that you
Yes.
have is so important to be able
Yeah.
to, ultimately build your business around your life and not the other way around. Otherwise, you're like, whoops, I've gone back in and gone back in and just created another job,
Yeah.
another job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always talk about, being in alignment with the strategies that you implement, and sometimes that you'll start off implementing it in one way and being in alignment, and then it evolves and you evolve and change, and and your values can change as well. That you might not be in alignment with it anymore. Oh, there's so much here, Chris. This has just been an absolute joy. Now I know you have got an incredible freebie for our incredible gift for our listeners. I'd love just tell everybody all the things, like where can they get this gift and where can they find you? Where do you hang out? All those beautiful
Where do
things.
the gift, I hope you'll share the
Yeah,
link,
we will.
and it just outlines the 3 steps to really finding significance in life, living a life of meaning.
Mm,
Give yourself some grace. You've been doing it, I don't know, however many years you've been on this planet, you've been doing it that way. Open yourself up to maybe the possibility, even the possibility that life can be different. And this guide just walks you through 3 steps
mhm.
that will give you an idea of what needs to be done. I'm always reachable at my email, which is simply KrysPappius.com, which is KrysPappius @gmail.com. My website, KrysPappius.com, and also my contact information is in the handout.
Yeah.
And I'm always open. If this resonates with you, if you're stuck, if you know you're ready to make change, and you think that maybe we're a match to work together, let's have a talk and see if we're in alignment.
Open invitation there. That's lovely. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for this incredible conversation. It's just been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. We hope that this has served everybody listening as well. Hope you'll come back and join us again another time on the show, Chris.
Sure.
Thank you so much. And a huge thank you to everybody listening. Until next time, we will see you then. Lots of love. Thanks for listening to the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. And if you like what you've heard and want to know more, please go to louisahavers.com. We just appreciate you so much. So thank you for listening and hanging out with us. If there's anything that we can do for you, you can email us at louisa@louisahavers.com. Let my team know if you have any ideas for shows that you'd love to hear or topics you want me to talk about. Really looking forward to hearing from you. All right, that is it for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today. Looking forward to connecting with you again. Until next time, namaste.